All right. What up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the Yama channel. My name is Thinker St. James. This is last week's fights. We're going to be talking about Dana White's Contender Series Week 6 and the upcoming UFC Paris card. With me, as always, to do just that is the Ohio player, my good friend, the man, the myth, the legend, Chase Parton. How you doing, brother?
It's another Monday. I can't wait to get into the fights. Obviously, we had a week off. God, I'm ready to be back because the Contender Series is great, guys. I love it, but I haven't been able to watch it live, so it really hasn't hit the same. So when the fights happen that I can watch live, I promise I'm ready to be so much more active. But
Absolutely, but you did get to watch these, so we both have seen all of these fights. And if you were around yesterday, I know John Dong, who's in the chat right now. How you doing, brother? He was there for the stream I did last night to go over some of these fights as well. So we got a little bit of a prediction-y kind of deal going on now. We know some of what's in store for us to a certain extent here. So we're going to be going over every single fight on the Contender Series and going through these fights upcoming in Paris for this weekend. If you have anything that you want to discuss in the chat that is not pertaining to the fights that we're talking about, you can throw it in there. We'll come back to it at a later time in the stream. But to get it started off, the first fight of the Contender Series Week 6 was Dylan Mantello versus Ahmad Hassanzada. What do you think of this fight?
I came into this one listening to the stories. For some reason, they didn't show the Afghanistan flag on the promotion. Like it was just a blank weird little image, and
Mm-hmm.
which I find odd. But I did pick him outright. And then when I started watching the fight, that first round was good from him. That first round was really, really good. And then he gassed out immediately. That second round, he had nothing left. So I'm surprised that he pulled out and got the dub because Mantello, he was looking good. Okay, let me actually say this. The fact that these two were lightweights was concerning because they're one way too big and way too slow and not skilled enough at all.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
you're spitting facts for real. Well, just to touch on what you mentioned there with the Afghani flag, that is something that I've noticed on a regular basis with certain countries. Generally, I believe that that's some political, kind of issue there. I don't know exactly why they choose to do that, but I would suspect that with Afghanistan specifically, it's got to do with political, the situation over there, and then something, with like the legitimacy of the country in the eyes of the world, sort of thing. But you are right. That is, it's one of those things that I do find kind of unfortunate because if the guy is fighting in the organization or Contender Series, whatever the case may be, and he's choosing to represent that country, then it is unfortunate that he doesn't have a flag to do that with. But I guess maybe at the same time, if maybe that could also be somewhat by choice. If it's like I am from this country but don't want to represent what's the negative aspects that are going on over there. I think that that's a multifaceted kind of issue, but that's just all of that stuff. Anyway, to the fight itself. Yeah, the thing that I wanted to say about Hassan Zada, he looked like decent in that first round, like you were saying, but he swings wild and fast. I think that he's one of those dudes that I think he acts before he thinks, like is the way that he was
yeah,
fighting. Because like he was swinging those spinning back fists, and they were just, I mean, like like he
four in
was,
the first minute.
bro, and high and wide. I mean, like there was no way that any of those were gonna land. I mean, like it didn't even look like he was really trying to land them accurately. He was just doing stuff for the sake of being multifaceted. You know what I mean? Like to being mixing it up and being unpredictable. I was like, dude, that's all well and good if you're having a little bit of accuracy with it, but you're just really you're almost breakdancing out there with some of that shit. I mean, like chill out a little bit.
Yeah, it was. Listen, now that you're making me remember more of this, because I want to remember his first round was kind of solid. I was thinking this was a great pick by me. Obviously, he was coming in as the favorite. Okay, and it really was just like it looked like, oh, I'm trying to get a contract from Dana White. I need to do a spinning back fist. Like
Right.
It was so that was
Yeah,
bad.
very much like a bull in a china shop is what I saw there. But the other note for about Mantello was that he didn't really, to me at least, it didn't look like he was making very good reads because like he has obvious power. I mean, he landed a couple of really heavy shots. Obviously, he dropped him. I mean, that looked like it very well could have been the end of the fight, but obviously it was not. Hassan Zada, recovered and was able to carry on, but towards the end, I mean, he also gassed, like you said, that there was certainly a little bit of a skill issue with both these guys. I think I was not super impressed by either of them. The Afghani toughness shone through, and he was able to get that rear naked choke, which was kind of amazing, all things considered. But Dana at the end, when he was giving out the contracts, did say that he thought it was Mantello's fight to lose, and I definitely agree with him. Unfortunately for him, he did lose it. We'll talk about all of the people that got contracts at the end, but I will say that this guy getting one compared to one of the other dudes who did not get one was a little surprising to me. We'll talk about that when we come to it.
Yeah, I think I would like to know is Metello one, like you said, I'm trying to think, like it just didn't look like he knew what he was doing out there at times. Stand in front of him and like in the break between the rounds, the coach even told him like what to do, and he's like before or after, and he's like, I don't care, like just do it, just like punch him either way, do the move I'm telling you.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
it was like it's like he just wasn't naturally like instinctual with the sport. You see that
Yeah.
very often, but you oftentimes see people who just come in naturally know what to do, like Raul Rosas Jr. Like he just knows, knock people out, choke them out, blah 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 blah.
For sure, and yeah, and that is a kind of a good point as well. That because he was getting that cornering from the Serra-Longo team. I mean, he's a Serra-Longo product. Obviously, Serra-Longo has graduated some extremely high level fighters. One of which is a champion right now, just won his belt on the Noche card. So, he's obviously getting the right training theoretically, but I would agree. I think that there's just a little bit of a skill gap there. And it is the Contender Series, I mean, he's the type of guy that could certainly go out and get better and come back and put on a great show going forward, I would think.
No, well, I want to interject right there. That
Sure.
note you just made, okay? He's the type of guy that can go out, get better, come back and do, he was already supposed to do that. Like he came in, this is his second attempt in the Contender
Oh,
Series. This is
yeah.
actually two
Good
people who
point.
lost already.
Good
This
point.
was two
Forgot
people who
about
lost
that.
already. He went out. I'm pretty sure they said he was 2-1 since coming back to the Contender Series. And like my point is like, if you know that that's not enough experience that you're thinking, like, why is Dana letting these people come back? Like Torres Finney, he went out and got no outside experience before coming back. Why did they allow him? Like, why didn't they say, no, you're not coming on the Contender Series because you need more experience? We already told you that. And I get to a point, it's like, I want to, anything can happen. They can surprise me a different night. But these ones right here, it's like, there's a reason you didn't make it the first time.
Yep, I stand corrected. You are correct about that, and that is a good point too. Yeah, it is one of those deals. I mean, I guess there are only so many fighters in the world who are even potentially at that level, maybe. Or also so many fighters who are able to make it to Vegas with all of the world restrictions and travel and everything that's involved with that. Yeah, I mean, I think that there probably are other guys that are going to be coming up and doing it better, even some of the guys who may be on their second attempt. We'll see. Like you said, Torres Finney getting his third shot. Perhaps he's going to learn from those first two, maybe. But, yeah, you're making good points on that, though, that when it's the second attempt and there's still issues there, that is a little troubling, especially because you always have to remember too with the Contender Series, what are you working towards? You're working towards getting to the big show. Once you get to the big show, it's not like this is not the end of the road. This is the beginning of the road. You know, I mean, so it's like you're clawing and scratching your way into an even tougher battle. And that does not bode well for guys who can't get it done the first time, or most especially the second time. Third time, I mean, that's even more wild than can be comprehended, but perhaps Torres Finney will prove the world wrong.
I know it.
Yeah, so, I mean, overall, a decent fight. I mean, it was certainly a decent exchange back and forth. A lot of pressure from Hassan Zada. I thought that was decent. He was staying in his face for a lot of it. Took a couple of shots because of it, but it wasn't a bad fight for the skill level that they both have, I would say.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that Mantello was not able to capitalize and finish off when he had him down, but that's just the way that it goes when you got a guy who's tough, obviously. And funnily enough, I just glanced over and saw that they have the Afghanistan flag on ESPN, but not on the UFC's broadcast. So that's a little wrap up on that.
Yeah, I was watching it on Hulu, but it was an ESPN Plus stream. So now it makes even more curiosity because this is ESPN's site too.
Well, I think that it's all coming from the UFC's production side of things.
Oh, yeah, true.
It's
Probably.
the same feed that, I think that just gets distributed everywhere from them. So I think that's their choice to do so. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they're under ESPN, just an interesting note, I guess. All right. Moving on, though, this fight I quite enjoyed. This was Yura Nato versus Ateba Gautier. This Gautier guy, man, I mean, really the only note is that he needs to work on his takedown defense. But, man, you can tell that he's a powerful dude for real, for real.
I don't know if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan or if you've ever seen Dragon Ball Z. There's a character named Frieza that goes into different forms. This dude is the final form of Frieza. Like when I was watching the videos, I'm like, holy shit! Like obviously this dude's a genetic athlete, like freak. But then when you see him, it's like, how did he like level up even more from the videos? Like he's just like bursting out of his skin with muscles. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. No, he's definitely the physique is certainly there, and the hands are certainly there as well. I mean, starting off the fight, Nato was strong. I mean, he shot early. He wasn't respecting the power. Obviously they don't necessarily know each other well enough to know any of those details, but he was going in head first for sure, like diving straight into the deep end. Got the takedown early as well. So, I mean, he's, for middleweight, fighting a little bit bigger, he was really trying to make things happen. But when Gautier dropped him in the second, I mean, it was that was the beginning of the end for sure. He did go down. It might have been smarter to try to get him to stand up. We were talking about that yesterday a good amount, where the merits of going to the ground with him rather than just letting him stand up. I don't think it necessarily benefited him in the moment, but he was able to stay the course through NATO's defense and got the victory thereafter. So worked out in the end.
NATO was so impressive in this. I'm gonna talk about, like, he had so many good things that he did, like mixed wise. He came in as a karate black belt. I expected this dude was gonna be kind of goofy, not gonna lie. Like, karate, sometimes these people, if they're not Stephen Thompson and fucking MVP, like, I didn't think I was going to see a dude come in here and show some elite takedowns. Like, it was kind of impressive how he was locking the leg up and like tripping him down. Like, he wanted these takedowns. And like you said, he was ready to stand in front of him and trade at a time. And this is a dude who really kind of looks pudgy. Like, he could drop a weight class most likely and be very, very good if he can't handle the power. But honestly, this is just, again, genetic freak that you just got punched by. Just don't even worry about this one. You're going to come back and do really, really good. I bet he's coming on the UFC very soon.
Yeah, so, that's interesting that you mentioned that. One of the things that I had heard on the broadcast is that he specifically wanted to fight up in weight because, and this is his words, not mine, but he had said that Japanese and Asian fighters are not well enough represented in the higher weight classes, so he wanted to try to break the perception that they were only viable prospects at lower weights, which is commendable if you're able to actually get past some of these guys. But I think it's a good wake-up call for him that, look, man, I mean, whatever you want to happen versus what's going to happen, you found out very quickly that the difference between these weight classes is so wide, so freaking wide. Just by those couple of pounds that separates them, you think that it's not that big of a deal. It's a huge deal. So yeah, him going down would probably be a good idea based on the fact that he was very technically sound. Yeah. I mean, like I would agree. He was doing a lot of things right in this fight, but you're going to be encountering some really, really hard punchers the higher you go. And this Gautier guy is one of them.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm actually frustrated looking at the numbers that they tallied up for this fight, because this is going to be one of those things that they look back and they're going to be like, "Oh, this Gutierrez guy, he butchered this guy. Like he knocked him out in the second round." It's like they gave 14 strikes for my boy Nato. That is ridiculous, because he was, in my opinion, he was whooping him up until one strike that knocked him out. Of course, like that knocked him unconscious. And even I'm trying to think, this might have been. Let me double check before I say. No. There's a different fight, but this one he was doing really, really good. I liked
Yeah.
Nato. I want to see more of him.
I mean, I would take issue with the idea that he was whooping him up. I mean, he took a couple heavy ones before he got dropped. I mean, that was the thing that I saw from the start of it, was that his movement was nice and his pressure was good, but then when Gautier was able to actually land on him, you could see the power in the shots early. Like he wasn't really like reacting heavy to it. Like it wasn't like coming across in his body language, which I actually in the moment was like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, he's taking these heavy shots like good. Obviously he's tough, but the power, you could certainly see the impact was there. So I mean, he might have done some decent work like in the big picture, but I think it's a little bit strong to say he was really like running away with it until he wasn't.
One other issue that I want to make is that you at the beginning said if he just needs to work on his takedown defense, and not even just you, Dana even said like we need to get you like some good wrestling. I see Frank Mir over in your corner. Is like now I know you got a good wrestling coach or something like that. This dude defended 10 out of 11 takedowns. Like, and most of the time he was just being held up against the cage, which I saw a problem with that. As soon as he said that, I'm like, I don't remember. He got taken down like one legit time, and there was some big heavy strikes. That's why I'm confused on the 14 on NATO's part. But other than that, like it was mostly just holding him up against the cage, crotch sniffing type of deal.
Fair. I guess really it's more just about him handling all of that, handling all of the pressure in all of its various forms. But fair point. Either way, I mean, as you said, I mean, he obviously handled it well enough to stay the course. And that was what I kind of was getting at, too, when he was on the ground, when he followed him to the ground, that is, after he had dropped him. It's like, look, you're going to end up getting tied up that way. That's really why you shouldn't do that. He sort of, fell into his own trap with that. But at the same time, stayed the course on the ground. Nato was defending, trying to get himself into a better position. Didn't let that happen. And once the opening was there, he just started getting the ground pound going. And, that's all she wrote. So, I mean, overall, even if he's not a dude who can never be taken down kind of thing, he still has enough of the fundamentals to get the job done in the end. And the power is certainly there as well.
100%.
So yeah, I think he's a good prospect. Also, one thing to note as well, coming out of Cameroon, the home country of one Francis Ngannou, and he also had a kind of a crazy story as well. I mean, Francis's is much different, but I remember hearing during the walkout how he would have to like defend his house from attackers, and he
stabbed 3 times with a screwdriver.
Stabbed with a screwdriver. That's something that you don't hear every day. At least not in the United States. So, that's some heavy shit. All things that, go into becoming the person that you end up becoming and, playing into the fighter that you eventually evolve into. So good for him. Great win. And we'll see what he can do in the big show.
I feel bad for whoever broke into his house, like dead ass.
Yo,
to
legit.
See that guy standing there watching guard, like holy shit.
For real. He's just standing out on the lawn like, oh, you're here, bro.
Yeah.
How's it going? So all right. Moving on to the next one, though. This is Joey Hart versus Benjamin Bennett. Spirited fight between these two guys. I honestly thought this one could have been a rightful draw if they had gone that route. It ended up going Bennett's way, but I thought that Hart showed a lot of heart, no pun intended.
So I have a problem with this fight, and so I'm going to give you some context because I don't get to watch this live. So, and I do my best not to, pick up the winners, but I obviously pick up some of the clips, and so I get the clip of this dude. I fucking love this shit, man. Like, I just fucking love crack. Like, and I'm like, and I'm thinking like, yo, this dude must have came out here and they had a war. Like, they were throwing down. Like, they must have been doing some crazy shit. So when the fight was coming up, I'm like, this is him. Like, this is the guy I saw the clip of. So I can't wait for this fight. I'm over here rooting for a dude. I'm hearing his story. 30 fucking amateur boxing fights. 30 kickboxing bouts. He has fucking this and that. And I'm like, yo, this dude might be the real deal. He's gonna come out here and show some levels. He did not. He did not show many levels to it. He honestly, I think he might have even lost this fucking fight. Like, it was not that great of a performance. The first round, he was, wrestling and he was trying to hold him down. And then actually another fact about his fucking post-fight speech. He said, and I quote, that like, I was surprised that his wrestling wasn't that good. Brother, you had to stop wrestling by the third round because you were going to lose. Like, I'm confused. Like, that's why you stood the third round, is because you couldn't take him down the first 2 rounds. The first one, you were crotch sniffing. Okay. Second round, you were having a struggle match, up against the cage the whole time. And then by the third round, like, you were on the back foot, taunting him. And that dude, I was really thinking he was going to be some dog. Like, that pissed me off.
All right. I mean, strong opinions for sure. This was another one similar to the first fight that I thought was a good competition, but not necessarily a super high level competition as far as the skills go. I think that that's why it was a good fight to me, is that, considering that neither of them were like ultra elite coming into the fight, they both put on as good a show as they were going to, and it was a decent back and forth because of it. You call it crotch sniffing. I mean, fair assessment. I would say that it was decent control. I mean, I guess there's different ways to look at it, but I mean, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, though. I mean, look, I'm not going to get on the guy for getting emotional. I do know that they had said on the commentary that he recently lost his mother. That's, something, whatever. I mean, that's I don't know if that played into that part of it or whatever. People get emotional for different reasons. That's their thing. But all of that being said, it was maybe a little bit of a little bit of not the exact right fight for that level of emotion. That does track. But overall, yeah, I mean, as I said, I think that for the level that they're both at, it wasn't bad. And this is the fight that I had referenced in the first fight, saying that it's crazy to me that Ahmad Hassanzada got a contract and Bennett did not. I mean, like that. Again, we can talk about all of the ones getting contracts a little bit later, but it like, because the fights to me were somewhat similar in their quality level, I don't really know what. I think it was Sean Shelby who wanted Hassanzada.
Yep.
I don't. It didn't really make too much sense to me when I heard that. I don't really know what he saw in him specifically that made him want him, but overall, it is what it is.
Needed an Afghanistani fighter in the league. That's basically how I saw it, because what I saw in the first round, like max potential before Hassan Zada like gassed out. I do agree that looked like a very well-rounded, fighter. Good for the moment. But then the fact, how he was fighting after he gassed out was very lack of experience. He was looking for his corner to help him. Anything like that. You can throw all those things together. And like Benjamin Bennett, it's like, what do you tell a guy who has all the experience in the world? It's like, this is basically his ceiling. Like, he's not gonna be a different fighter tomorrow. He's been doing this for 60 fights. Like, this is what you get. And sometimes it's just not enough. And maybe we'll see him in the UFC, but I don't think I'll see him win in the UFC unless it's a very, very layup.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty much the same note that I would have for had he gotten the contract, and for Hassanzada, who did get the contract, is that both of them would appear to me to be the kind of fighters that get the contract on the Contender Series and lose their first fight in the organization. That would be my assessment based on their performances there. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. There's like different reasons for all of this stuff sometimes, and perhaps Hassanzada ends up, proving everything wrong and becomes this amazing breakout star. But it just doesn't seem likely. And if Bennett didn't get a contract, I would not have expected him to get a contract.
Yeah, and I actually want to make one more point that I didn't make about the first fight with Matello. Matello has lost his opponent that he lost to in the Contender Series. Krzyzewski is 0-2 in the UFC. So like we're showing can't beat the Contender Series guy that can't beat anybody in the UFC. Like maybe we'll see Benjamin come back and he faces another dude who didn't make it in the UFC. And then we're just watching the rejects fight each other. Like a PFL can call you guys up whenever you want. Like,
Yeah, that is true. And, I mean, people have a lot to say about the Apex cards and the quality level of some of the, early fights on there. I mean, these are the guys that fill a lot of those. So if that's the case, get your wins on those cards and prove all of this wrong. That's always the note. Anytime that we're critical of anything, it's prove it wrong. It's the only thing you have to do.
yep.
All right. Moving on here. We got Taliesin Teixeira versus Arthur Lopez. No relation to Diego, I do not think. But this is two heavyweights, one being much bigger than the other one. This Teixeira was insanely, this is a monster in size. And, long reach and used it well. You talked about Dragon Ball Z earlier in the stream. He also has a Dragon Ball Z tattoo, but that one is much better than the one that he has on his chest. Good lord,
The spider web that connects to his nipples. That is a crazy tattoo. The design aspect, like creativity, 100% out the window. But so I think it's funny that you brought up Lopez, like no relation to Diego. I'm thinking like you're sitting here looking at a dude named Teixeira, but you don't think like, oh yes, that's the guy that we should look in relations to.
Good point. Good point.
Don't think it is somebody that's related to Glover, but Contender Series, you have Bigfoot Silva basically is what I'm seeing. This dude is huge. He actually throws kicks very, very well for being 6'7" or whatever. Like Rebellis, talk about the Taekwondo, but like he doesn't implement it in UFC. He don't know how. This dude right here, he will stand in front of you, throw a high kick, jab your face off, and to do not even like glaze on him too much. Like I thought up until because wow, minus 1300. Okay, well I probably should have looked at that before, but I didn't want to spoil the winner. Arthur Lopez really did come to fucking fight. This dude was trying to knock his head off, and for a moment I thought, holy shit, he might actually like beat him down. Like he might drop him, and like the bigger they are, the the timber type shit. Like I thought Arthur Lopez was gonna pull some shit out his ass, and this would have been a crazy dog to bet on. I would have loved this. But it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. And my rule is always small money bets on the underdogs when it comes to the Contender Series. But this certainly was not one that would have cashed because Teixeira, on top of the kicks that you mentioned, when he threw the shot that landed to knock out Lopez, the follow through was what really stood out to me. I mean, he threw that punch through his face. I mean, it was just a solid sailing shot that did not stop for an instant when the contact landed. Massive and powerful for sure. Again, the kicks are an extension of his reach in general, which he uses really well. That is the part on Lopez's side that was impressive was that he was willing to negate the reach by getting in there tight at times and taking a shot to give one kind of thing. It just the power was certainly there for Teixeira. So you had mentioned Rebellis earlier. I mean, whenever I see a big guy like this with the power that he has in the hands, it's always my first instinct to say, what the hell can he do on the ground? Because we didn't see any of it in this fight. But after the fight was over, they did mention that not only does he have a submission win, he has a submission win by inverted armbar triangle. So, I mean, it's not exactly the most common submission on the planet. I mean, it's not like the most crazy one of all time or anything.
Like what the fuck was he doing an inverted triangle? Like what the hell?
Exactly. So I mean, like it's an interesting addition to the equation here. Like I don't know if he's going to necessarily be, the dude that's going to have all of the pieces in the heavyweight puzzle, because we talk time and time again about how heavyweight is a division that is lacking well-rounded fighters. People do not have the ground game in heavyweight, and the ones that do often are lacking in the striking. It's one of those divisions where having a full, well-rounded fighter who has all of the elements that you need in mixed martial arts it's just not there for a lot of these guys. Like, I'm waiting for the ones that have that. Can he be one of them? A little early to say, but I'd like to believe it because it's needed. It is a necessity that we have more of that at heavyweight.
I would like to point out also, I misremembered with a different fight earlier when I almost said it, but this one right here was 100% an early stoppage as well. This one was he dropped him, right? Okay, initially he's out. He hits the mat and he gets punched once. I agree. He gets punched once and he was still out. But then he's covered up and he's good and he was ready to be back in it. We had this one fucking ref, Coleman, Gary Coleman, I guess.
Gary Copeland, yeah. Gary Coleman is a different person.
Coleman, the fucking ref. And that dude obviously jumped the gun. He was tasked to be reffing one of the largest people he's ever seen, So I know he was like, oh my God, he's going to kill him if I don't step in, But either way, he got the win. Shout out Teixeira.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that to an extent. It did look slightly early. I mean, I don't know if Lopez was necessarily like right back in it. I mean, he did, like he wasn't like down. I mean, he did get back up like relatively quickly after it was stopped, but it probably could have gone for a shot or two more. I would have been okay with that. Either way, the win was there, like you said, and yeah, I mean, really, just going back to the point I was making before, I like whether or not he can knock a dude out seems to be a foregone conclusion here, based on this and the rest of his undefeated record, but can he hang on the ground is going to be the biggest question. I would be hesitant to put any money on him initially, even though he is huge and has knockout power, of course. I would be a little bit hesitant before I see him on the ground.
Yeah, 100%.
So, all right. Moving right along here. This goes by fast, but we are already at the featured fight of the Contender Series for Week 6. This is Aaron Toe, I believe is how it's pronounced, and Elijah Smith. I thought Elijah Smith looked great in this fight up until that third round, and even in that third round, I thought that he held it together pretty well, considering that Toe apparently was saving everything for that third round.
Yeah, I think it was Dana. He might have been the one who said it best. Toe came out in the first round doing bullshit, taunting, having a fun time, and then he realized like, oh, I'm the underclassed one here. I'm not the one that's going to come out here and drop bombs. Like, I have to actually do something. Second round, it was getting a little more competitive. Third round, of course, he did come out swinging. It is crazy to me to think Kyle Carl France is a 5'4" flyweight, and he is so undersized. This dude is a 5'4" bantamweight. He's never going to not be undersized. This is a very glaring problem because Elijah Smith, while he did look good and was styling on him, I didn't see like this is next level. I didn't see like this is somebody who was trained by a UFC fighter their whole life kind of deal. Like, this is just an average, not average, but this is, Contender Series competition. This is somebody that I could see any other week. This isn't LeBron James' son. I know Gilbert Smith is not LeBron. Like, this isn't some sort of blessing down, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, I thought that he looked pretty goddamn good. I was liking his style. I thought that he moved really nicely. He had that really nice hip toss in the first round. He almost got the finish in the second round with the anaconda choke. I mean, I thought that his technique was really solid. I mean, sure, he's young to the game. I mean, like a lot of these guys.
22? Did they say, or is that?
I think they might have been. I think it might have been him. He's I mean, it's a good question actually. Do they have his age on here? I don't know if they have a page for him. Um,
No,
yeah,
that's fucking the Cameroon dude. The goddamn 22 for him, man. Jesus, 3 years younger than me. That guy's ridiculous.
yeah. Let's see what he's got going on here. Yeah, 20. He's 22 too, though.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So there you go. But yeah, I mean, he's young to the game and he's young to life. So I mean, he's certainly got time to improve some of the like to get to the point of really sailing away with fights and being a little bit more slick. I mean, obviously he was a little bit gassed by the third round. That was a little apparent. But as I said, I mean, I thought that with the nice technique that he had for the first two, because he was doing a lot of things right. When he was in more of a firefight, because Toe was really turning it up in that third round, I thought that he stayed with it pretty well. I don't think that it was one of those deals where it's like, Toe was playing possum to the point of getting him, where he wanted him to be and was able to run away with it. Obviously, he didn't. I was really satisfied overall with the way that Smith was fighting. I mean, is he going to come in and just soar his way to a title? Probably not. But I mean, I could definitely see him, getting a couple of wins and starting to become somebody over the course of his career after he now has his contract.
Yeah, I get you. It's kind of funny that.
Yeah.
I don't mean. So it's actually kind of funny. So one of the random seasons of Tough that I also watched, like Gilbert Smith. Like I know who this dude is. Like it's kind of crazy. So when I saw Elijah Smith, I was like, Elijah Smith, like son of Gilbert Smith. I'm like, wow, okay, like I know something here. Gilbert Smith, I kind of like that dude in the season. He was cool, and then now his son. So
absolutely. And he was in his corner, giving him some decent cornering advice. I thought I remember hearing some of his some of the stuff that he was telling him. I was like, okay, I mean, you're getting good high level advice from from a dude who knows what he's talking about. So yeah, I mean the note for Toe is that I mean, stop going in there. I mean, look, yes, you're very intimidating with your Maori face tattoo. That's just a given. Obviously, you're dedicated to your culture and you're going to look intimidating with a tat
for
like
the rest of your life.
for the rest of your life, for sure. That's always going to be there. But you can't be going in there thinking that you're going to basically mentally break every guy that you're against. These are also fighters too. I mean, I'm sure that there are guys that back home, I mean, even back home, I would think that probably it's a little bit more common, coming from Australia, New Zealand. I mean, like that's where the culture is. So I would think that there are probably more people with tattoos like that there, and probably more fighters that are at least acclimated to seeing that across from them. So, you can't come in here thinking that you're going to smile your way through things and take your guy down just off of mind games alone. It's not the way that it's going to work in here. And on top of that, you can't come in as wild as he was. I mean, he's another one that was just really like going in there, like just trying to swing heavy with no, to me at least, didn't look like much of a solid like strategic game plan. It was more like, I'm going to be the bigger, badder guy. I'm sorry, buddy. That's not how it's going to fly in the UFC. Everybody's the bigger, badder guy, I mean, and he's not even the bigger guy. So
anytime I see these guys, like these really small, really stocky built dudes, and we go back to Tough, the random seasons that I've seen, there's a season with Nate Diaz, this dude named Manny Gamburian. If you know who this guy is.
I know the name,
the
yeah.
Anvil. Dude, he was like 5'5". I think he was a lightweight, man. This dude was so fucking small, but like I just can't imagine, like I don't know, like I just can't imagine much success for these guys. And like as a small guy myself, like I hate to break it to you, like I'm not about to go be no fucking lightweight fucking contender. Like it's just not about to happen. Like
yeah, I mean, it depends on a lot of factors, of course. I mean, I think like a guy like Torres Finney is one of the dudes that might have a better shot at it, but he doesn't use any of the, like if he has any power in his hands, you wouldn't know it. You know what I mean? Like I think that's his biggest problem. A guy like Toe here, I think maybe with a little bit of a stronger technical game, there's possible potential there, but that I think is the bigger issue here than the size. I would venture to say that some of the undersized guys can still do pretty well, and especially if you're fighting in the lower weight classes. you got to have all of your ducks in a row when you have a glaring deficit in one way, shape, or form. That's just the bottom line for anybody, but especially for guys when the deficit is so glaring. So, I mean, I don't think that it's necessarily a hard and fast rule that these smaller guys can't get the job done. It's just you have to be that much better than the thing that's holding you back.
100%.
There you go. So that is week 6 of Dana White's Contender Series, season 8. Before we move on to the Paris card coming up this weekend, I see that there's a whole lot of conversation going on in the chat. What are we looking at here?
They want me to give my pick on Max versus Ilya.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and give it to you right now. I'm going to say it's a draw. Hate to break it to you guys.
Wow, you're going straight down the middle, huh?
Yeah, it's got to be, man. I can't have Max lose.
I mean, yeah, so I'm seeing what's going on as well. Subscription or not, my dude, I cannot not ride with Max Holloway personally. So, what I had said yesterday, I'll give you the full context here before we move on. What I had said yesterday when this basic question was asked as well was that I don't believe that Ilya has been tested in a way that a champion needs to be tested yet. And what I was saying was, if you go back through Ilya's record and look at the fights that he's had up until the point where he's at now, he's had a couple of okay opponents, some that are better than others. I mean, one of those I highlighted in there was the Ryan Hall fight. I mean, you can't judge a champion level fighter off of a dude who's going to Uminori roll through an entire round to the point where Ilya basically just looks down at him and bops him in the nose to finish the fight. Take that one out of the equation. If you go back through the record, the opponents have been a decent level, but not all contender level. You know what I mean? Like guys who are going to be like challenging in the way that a champion would be challenged. And sadly enough, he caught Volk at a time when Volk was his most vulnerable. So all of that to me says that the experience and the current version of Max Holloway, who, if you saw the BMF fight, you know that was the rarest form Max Holloway that we've ever seen in the cage, in my opinion. I mean, he looked like he had figured everything out that he needed to get figured out. It was all there for him. I think that is going to be the test that Ilya definitely needs to prove that he's championship material, that he's champion material. That is going to prove it more than the fight that got him the belt. Is he going to get completely washed? I don't think so. I mean, Ilya is certainly skilled, but yet again, I must always bring this up anytime that I talk about Ilya Topuria. The man has not thrown a kick inside the UFC ever, not once. So I'm just saying that, these shots that he lands are strong and powerful. He's extremely accurate with his hands. Max Holloway is a total package. So
before we move on, I will make this one last point. If minus 225 is what they got Ilya right now, I need you to go ahead and bet your life on Max and just call it there, because it's going to become really close by the time the fight actually comes. It'll be more of a coin flip, I feel.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If you're going to put money on Max, put it on now. Maybe not bet your house on it, but a little short money would not be a stupid decision, in my opinion. I gotta ride with Max Holloway on that one, man. I mean, and I'll eat those words when and if Ilya can prove everybody wrong. His takedown defense is fantastic. That is certainly true.
You don't need that against Max, though.
It's a good point. So yeah, I mean, this is all of what we're saying basically tells the story. So I apologize. Hey, Amir. All right, man. Well, I appreciate that level-headed decision of yours, even if we don't see eye to eye on the fight. But as I said, I am more than ready to walk back everything when Ilya gets the job done, if he does.
Yeah.
All right. So that being said, thank you for that little aside. Let's go over some predictions for the upcoming Paris card. This is UFC Fight Night, Moicano versus Saint-Denis. And as I had mentioned, I did a little stream last night to break down some of these fights as far as where my head was going to be at. So I have a decent, cursory knowledge at this point coming into these fights to make somewhat of an educated decision, I think. So I know that Chase didn't get a chance to do all of that same in-depth research, but I will throw out some of what I got and you can add on top of that.
Good deal.
So first off, we got Balaji Oki versus Chris Duncan. Oki is out of Belgium. Duncan is out of Scotland. Oki is 9-1. His most notable win is over Timmy Kwamba. And Duncan has a win over Yanal Ashmouz, but got choked out early by Manuel Torres in their fight. That was a first round submission. And yeah, I mean, I basically think that this goes back to the emerging markets issue here. Belgium, very underrepresented country in the sport. Scotland, somewhat in that same camp, but I would say a little bit higher, a little bit better representation, maybe a little bit better in the resources department. I'm cautiously siding with Duncan on this one, in the theory that the submission under Manuel Torres was somewhat of a fluke for him, perhaps.
Yeah, not knowing too much. This one's really a coin flip in my opinion, because these are two dudes that I don't watch consistently, haven't seen too much on them. And, the records could show that maybe a loss or two, fluky, one loss, fluky, whatever. But plus 180 dog for Duncan. I'm going to say that both the Chris Duncans are riding on L's this year. Yeah.
Fair. We talked about the Chris Duncan here versus Christian Leroy Duncan, who also took a pretty bad beating at the hands of Gregory Rodriguez recently. Yeah, so one of my other points besides the emerging markets portion of things is that Timmy Kwamba was a guy that got a decent amount of hype, but I don't think really looked that great in the fight with Oki. And Yanal Ashmouz just fought recently versus Trevor Peek, and I didn't think that he looked great whatsoever. So a win over Yanal Ashmouz does not really hold all that much water to me one way or another. I think that the matchmaking, honestly, this is a note for this entire card, is that I think the matchmaking is pretty good for a lot of these fights, this being one of them, 9-1, 11-2. I think that that this is a pretty solid matchup as far as that element of it goes. Again, it's a cautious siding with Duncan, but that's where I'm riding. I'll ride with the dog on this one.
100%.
All right. Moving on. We've got Nora, I believe it's pronounced Corniol, but could be Cornole or Canole. Any one of those pronunciations. Yeah, any one of those pronunciations will do. But then she is facing Jacqueline Cavalcante. Cavalcante was just okay at best in her fight against Josini Nunes. I know that when we were talking about that on this very show, you were kind of praising her a little bit more. I didn't see it. I thought that Nunes was a little bit more dogged in that fight. I thought that she was more aggressive. She's just shorter and a little bit stubbier, so she wasn't able to get inside because Cavalcante was moving very nicely. She does have nice movement, but I didn't. I don't know. I was not impressed by that performance. On what? Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm actually just like looking into it while you're going. I was going to say Cavalcante just fought less than a month ago, right?
That's
right now. It's less than a month ago.
That's another point. Yeah, I kind of thought that was kind of crazy in general too, is that we were just talking about the fight that I'm referencing there, and she's already back in the cage. So I mean, good on her for being active. I'll definitely give her that. That certainly takes some stones. But again, I was not overly impressed by her performance in that fight. I thought it was maybe enough to get the win. I honestly thought it might have been a slight little bit of a robbery, but I'm not. It wasn't so dramatic that I would be mad about it. But yeah, like I said, not not anything that was overly impressive to me. But on the other side of this equation, you have Nora, who knocked out Melissa Mullins, who looked really, really good in her fight, the fight prior to that. I thought that Mullins was one to keep an eye on. She's a fighter out of England. You don't see too many female fighters out of England. I know we got Molly McCann, but that's somewhat more rare, I would say. I mean, there's probably a couple more you can name, but on the whole, if you're going to have fighters coming out of England, it's generally males. So I took note of that. I said, "Oh, Melissa Mullins. Okay, let me keep an eye on her because she got a decent win in her fight previous to this, and then she got pretty much demolished by some knees and some kicks from Nora. So I am going to be riding with Nora on this one. Nora Cognol winning over Jacqueline Cavalcante."
I'm trying to think. There's no way this is. I don't think this is the girl that I think it is. Corniol. I'm trying to think. How did she finish her? Do you remember? Do you remember how it went?
Knees and kicks.
She was like kicking her up against the cage and like kicking the shit out of her. Yes? No?
I think it was the.
Because I feel like
I think it was the knees that started it, and then
victory by a knee. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like she head kicked her. And like,
that might have been
shit out of her and kicked her in the head again or something. She was doing some crazy shit. So if this is the girl that I think it is, she might be a lock because rabid animal, and she is coming off of a fucking finish. But she is kind of old. She's 34, and she's just now getting into her career. So maybe she'll have an early run. But Cavalcante, I don't necessarily. Because we see a lot of the same, it's hard sometimes when you see people who fight very similar and they just kind of fade into one fucking stereotype of a fighter. So I've seen Cavalcante, I know what she fights like, but she didn't impress me. If I remember who this Nora girl is, if this is the girl that I remember, she impressed me, and she's going to be something. She might have a quick run is what I think is going to happen. So we'll see.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, the Mullins victory is the one that stuck out more to me because her other notable win was over Jocelyn Edwards. And that is, I mean, pretty much everybody should be able to do that. Jocelyn Edwards should not be in the UFC, in my opinion. I think she's either been cut or should be on the verge of being cut. But the Mullins performance was enough to sway me for sure. So I think that she is absolutely the one I am going with based on my research there. All right.
Cool. Oh, sorry. I want to make one more.
Please go ahead.
So you're going with Nora, right?
I am.
You're going with France. I want to make one last point is that Cavalcante's style lends to her benefit when she is the taller, longer fighter, which she is in this fight. So she could point her way all the way to decision and make the home crowd mad because Nora can't get on the inside to drop these, knees or bombs, whatever she's about to do. Honestly, victory by knee is kind of a rarity. I hate to feel like that because we don't see it very often, especially with women. And especially the sequence that I remember, if this is her, again, can't really promise it. But if this is her, the sequence that happened, it was kind of a once in a she pulled off some shit kind of deal. I don't know if she'll be able to do that again. I'm going to go with Cavalcante for that reason.
Fair enough. What I would say to that is that the height difference is definitely not as dramatic as it was with Nunes. And also, I think that Nora's one who will probably be a little bit more willing to go in there and close the distance a little bit harder. I mean, it's about cutting Cavalcante off because you're right. She does move very well and she could point from the outside, but Nora just needs to go in there and make it dirty. That's the name of the game on this one. Don't let her have the routes to move. That she needs to cut her off at the pass. So if she does that, then I think she's got a good shot of it. But I can understand the reasoning.
Yeah.
All right. So next up here, Daniel Barres from Spain versus Victor Altamirano from Mexico. Altamirano coming off of 2 losses, 1 split decision, 1 unanimous decision loss. Barres lost to Jafil Filio in the first round of their. Was it the first round? I'm pretty sure it was a first round submission in their fight. That is Jaffiel
Yeah.
Filio, the preacher. So I like the matchmaking on this one as well. But yeah, I this is a kind of a tough one to call with those factors in play. I'm riding with Altamirano on this one. I that's really kind of a more of a feeling than anything else, but I think that if I thought that the first fight, the Oki versus Duncan, if I thought that the Duncan loss was a fluke, I don't necessarily think that the Filio loss for Barres was as fluky. At least that's my reasoning.
Gotcha.
So, do you have any opinions on that one?
Honestly, no. I was like looking through it. You talked about the losses, and the only thing that stood out to me, and I want to make this point. I know we've never talked about it, and it has nothing to do with either of these dudes. But Victor has lost to Felipe dos Santos, right? I know, okay, and then he has also lost to Daniel Lacerda. These dudes are the same fucking person to me. I swear to you, I swear to God, I'm like doing side by sides of them right now, and I'm clicking back and forth. It's like I dead ass thought the dude changed his name. Like for the longest time, I'm seeing Felipe dos Santos, and then I'm like Daniel Lacerda. Like what the fuck is this? Like they look exactly the same. That's the only thing I have to take away from it. Probably wouldn't even give a pick on this fight because it's just a coin flip. Like who knows?
Yeah, fair. Well, I will ride with Altamirano because if he lost to the same guy twice, then perhaps a different guy will be the shakeup that he needs.
Literally.
All right. Well, if you had no opinion about that fight, well, I'm sure that you're going to have an opinion about this one. This is Daria Zelezniakova versus Eileen Perez, the queen of twerking out of Argentina. What do you think, my man?
Zelezniakova, she looks like the off-brand version of baby Shevchenko, not Shevchenko. Like she's like 4 tiers down type of deal. You know, we have Dudakova and then we got this girl. But this is going to be easy for my girl Eileen. Well, this is a weird matchup to be on the France card, like Russia, Argentina. Like I thought Spain. Okay, Spain. Okay, it's close, but like Russia, Argentina is kind of weird. But either way, Eileen gonna come out here and get some new French fans. That's basically what they're doing here. They're trying to take her international. They're like, you can't be twerking in Vegas no more. France it is.
Well, I knew that on the Sunday stream when I was doing the research on this one, that this was going to be one where we were going to have a little bit of a disagreement here. So Perez is coming off of a 3-fight win streak, but the wins that she has on that streak, not overly impressive when 2 of them are Pudilova and Jocelyn Edwards. Again, I'm telling you, like Jocelyn Edwards popping up again, it's not an impressive win. Daria is on a 2-fight win streak. Only one of those was in the UFC, but her win in the UFC was over Montserrat Reardon. I think that that's a slightly more impressive one. Maybe not like, stars and bars, but to me, it speaks a little bit louder than wins over Pudilova and Jocelyn Edwards.
I don't think it's the wins necessarily that matter. I think it's how she's doing it.
For sure.
Eileen has the style that once she gets a hold of you, the round is ending with her on top of you. And she's able to do that at a very high level, especially with the low ranking that she's at. She might not even be ranked. She's not ranked. No, she might have just beat Jocelyn. Jocelyn maybe was 15. No, that maybe
no way.
No.
Okay. Neither of them are ranked.
But her style lends to benefit until she gets to higher level competition. We just saw Tracy Cortez lose because she wasn't able to get a hold of Rose. Once Eileen is kept on the outside and they're just going to pop her face off and low kick and do all that, then she's not going to have that success. Maybe Daria is going to come out here and cook like I just laid the plan out for her. But I think Fiona she's a tank, man. I'm curious to see her get like some big shots landed on her because I do think she'll have a chin on her. Like I think she's fine.
Right. And just to touch on the subject in the chat, because it's one that came up on Sunday as well, is that you cannot go off of the attractiveness of the fighter in women's MMA. That is a recipe for losing money. I don't think Chase is doing that, but I'm just saying that as a general note to anybody out there listening. You cannot go off of attractiveness level the same way that you cannot go off of
Physique.
dislikability. Well, yeah, you're right. Or physique is another good one. Yeah, I was gonna say more like a punchable face in for men. I mean,
Brandon
like that.
Allen.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We'll talk about that when we get to it for sure. But yeah, this is just a general note for anybody out there, because there are people who will legitimately, and I've heard that. I'm not just blowing smoke here. I mean, I'm talking like stuff that I have heard in my chat before. People saying like, I don't know either of these girls, so I'm just going for the more attractive one. That is a recipe for disaster if you're actually putting money down. So just a general note there. But all of that being said, I do think that Perez has the ability to make it dirtier. I think that Zlesniakova is slightly more proficient on the if she can actually get to the ground. Like if it's just going to be clinch heavy and pressure and all that kind of stuff, then I would give that to Perez. But I think that if it goes down to the ground, I think that there might be some decent scrambles that Daria can get a handle on and maybe come out on top of. That's where my gut's at with that.
I just know that the haters are lurking for the day that Eileen loses, and it's maybe not going to be convincingly, or maybe it is, and they are just yelling at her to stop shaking her ass and get in the fucking gym. Like, that's coming. So I understand she's got like a target. Like there's some aura to be taken out here, but I just don't think it's this one. I think Eileen's going to get a 4-fight win streak. We see that. That's common, easy. 4-fight win streak in the UFC, like no big deal, especially the way she's doing it. She's not taking heavy damage. Like, cool, easy. I'm going to stick to my guns, of course.
I mean, all of that being said, she is a minus 270 on this on ESPN's odds, so perhaps a good pick. I will still ride with the dog on this one. I know it's maybe not the smartest or most popular pick, but I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, you've picked a lot of dogs. We talked.
I know.
That.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's the way you gotta go with where your gut takes you.
Okie dokie.
That being said, this one I was almost. I'm honestly still sort of on the fence about this one, even with all of the circumstances in play here, because this is Taylor Lapilus versus Vince Morales. Now, Lapilus in his last fight was, to me, coasting. I mean, he won the fight pretty solidly, but he didn't do anything that was overly impressive. It was more of a loss on his opponent's part than it was a win on his part, in my estimation. I remember very clearly being like, this dude is not trying to finish this fight in the slightest. He's, he knows that he's up, like by the third round, because I believe it did go to decision. He was just going through the motions, and I'm like, I want a little bit more out of my fighter than that. Now, Morales, on the other hand, this is his second stint in the organization. His first one went rather poorly. He racked up a couple of pretty significant losses and had a couple in a row. It was probably right that he got cut, but he's currently on a really nice win streak outside of the organization. So the question becomes, did Morales get better over his time outside of the organization? If Dana is telling these Contender Series guys to go out and fight in other organizations to get more skills, did Vince Morales do that? $1 million question.
Okay. Let's actually, because when you said that, before you said that, I was thinking Taylor Lapilus, and I'm looking at this Vince Morales dude, and I'm like, okay, his most recent fights, like, he hasn't fought in the UFC, as before you said that. And I'm like, okay, so who is this guy? Who is this guy that they called up? And now that you said that he's, been in the UFC before, when you go and look at the people that he's lost to, there are people that are still here. Like, I mean, they didn't lose 2 fights and leave, like Song Yadong. Okay. That was his first L in the UFC, by the way. Song Yadong is not great, but okay.
I mean, he was great until he wasn't, though. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that doesn't surprise me that he would be one of the dudes that would have cooked him.
So Chris Gutierrez, That's still, somebody around.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Martinez. He just fought Jose Aldo. Like, what the fuck? Anyway,
Right.
Miles Johns.
Yep.
He's about to fight a former. He's got a fight night headline, doesn't he? Something like that. I don't think
Uh,
it's a headline.
yeah, no, but
Maybe it is.
I don't think it's a headline, but
No, because he just had the co-main event. That was like short notice type shit against that fucking bum. I hate Miles Johns now. But anyway, different story for another day. So the fact that this dude went out and he's on a very good win streak, it's probably going to show the level of competition outside of the UFC. Like, he's probably going to come in here and lose. Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
You're talking about Morales, that is?
Yeah. I mean, he's been here before, so he does know what to expect kind of deal. But it's like, once again, he's like riding high off a win streak somewhere else. You already weren't able to do that here against against arguably not great competition that you weren't able to have success against. So nothing's different now. Taylor Lapilus is probably just as good as Chris Gutierrez. Like,
yeah, well, and that was kind of where I was going to end up anyway, because it's like, the question still remains, did he improve? Are all of these wins just because he's fighting outside of the organization, or is it because he improved? I mean, I would probably tend to agree. I will, in the end, take Lapilus in this fight. I don't ride with him heavy in general. So I think if it's not this fight, he can continue to build up a little bit of a win streak. This fight probably being among that, but don't be surprised in the future when the downfall does happen for Lapilus, I guess is where my head's at anyway.
I want to ask, and I know you maybe just don't even know, but is it a tattoo that Taylor Lapilus has, or is it a birthmark? I thought it was a haircut when I first saw it. Like, he's got like I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think it may be a birthmark. I'm gonna go.
Let's take a look here. What are we
mean,
looking at? I think it's just his hairline. Am I wrong? Yeah, I think that's.
No,
oh, maybe not.
Yeah, that's.
Maybe it is a birthmark. Yeah, it looks like it. I don't know. It's an interestingly placed one.
Yeah, it always makes me think he's just got part. Like, and that's I don't know. Either way,
wait, you broke up there. What'd you say it was?
I always just think that he's got like just a weird haircut, and I'm like, God damn, like this.
Yeah, just an unfortunate hairline, but I mean, yeah, no, I guess maybe it is a birthmark. I'm not.
Oh,
not
okay,
exactly
Anakin,
sure.
good shit.
Fair
Anakin
enough. Yeah, shout out to both of them. Appreciate y'all. But yeah, so I mean, you're riding with Lapilus in the end there.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I will too. I would like to believe that Morales did get better. Like as I said with the question that I had asked. I'm still somewhat on the fence about it. Morales might be one of those guys that I throw in like the the off parlay or whatever, the long shot parlay. But I think I'll go with Lapilus as well. All right. Moving on to Ludovic Klein versus Roosevelt Roberts. This is one that I believe is one of the biggest locks on this card in Ludovic Klein. Klein is on a 3-fight win streak. He had a draw with Jai Herbert. It would be a 5-fight win streak if that draw was not taken into account. So there's that. And then this is the second stint in the organization for Roosevelt Roberts. And to be perfectly honest, I like Roosevelt Roberts as a person. I think he's a cool guy. I watched his entire season of Tough and reviewed it on the channel. You can go back and watch those videos. I think he's a good dude, solid individual, but I was not impressed with him on Tough, and I have not been impressed with him in the organization as in his time back either. So
I think Ludovic Klein, right, is very, very skilled, and he's a very scary matchup. Even though you are 5 inches taller than him, 7 inches? How that works? Anyway, 5. Either way, you're taller than him, Roosevelt.
Oh wait, no, you're right.
Yeah. Anyway, Roosevelt, you're way taller than him, but Ludovic Klein, honestly, I think is gonna pop for fucking steroids. That dude is a fucking freak. Like I hate to break it to you, but just like it ain't even. Sometimes you just know, man. You can smell it. When you're watching the screen, the smell test it passes, bro. Ludovic Klein, give him one more year. USADA better be on his ass.
Well, USADA's not in the picture anymore, so he doesn't have to worry about
Well,
that.
whoever
But
the fuck it is,
yeah,
they better come out of retirement for him.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna resurrect the program, get him back in the picture. But yeah, no, I mean, all of that aside, all of that wild speculation on the part of Chase Parton aside, I mean, I just think that skill for skill, Klein is just a more solid fighter. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean that difference in size is certainly sizable for sure. That being said, I think that Roosevelt Roberts is just a little tall for nothing, bro. I mean, like that.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen
I
him
can see him getting
utilize.
knocked out.
Yeah, I haven't seen him utilize the size in a way that I've been like, man, he really uses his size advantage, you know, in a way that is impressive, bro. I'm like, it always ends up being kind of the same fight with him. Like, he's not like a bad fighter, you know what I'm saying? I'm not like saying that he's trash or anything. I really don't want to give that impression. He's just, there was a reason that he was cut the first time, and I don't think that he's done much better since. I'm actually kind of surprised that he's been sticking around.
This is actually not like what. Okay, I know Ludovic Klein. I know that one was short notice, like with Roosevelt. But the fact that we have 2 UFC rejects on this card so far, it just sucks to see. Like, why are you giving France these layups, brother?
I mean, you know, trying to make it
well, Slovakia. Sorry, Ludovic, my bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, even if it is dudes who are out of the organization at one time coming back, they're trying to maybe give them some exciting finishes, perhaps. You know, maybe that's the idea.
Yeah, Ludovic he should knock out Roosevelt Roberts. I think Ludovic he reminds me of JDM when I watch him fight. I don't know. Like, when I picture what he did to Thiago Moises, I just envision like what I see Jack Della do to people with his hands. But this will be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like, from my perspective at least, that this should be a slam dunk for him. You know, time will tell, of course, but on the surface level, it almost seems like a little bit of a mismatch.
Yeah, if we got layups early on in the card with, you know, maybe Cavalcante, this one is for sure a slam dunk. Like you said, this one.
Yeah. All right. So on to what I think is the other big lock of the card. Another almost layup situation here is Omar Sy versus Dawoon Jung. Sy looked really, really good in his last fight, except the dude he was fighting, Tuko Tokos, looked, he was just fighting like a fucking idiot. So I mean, maybe not.
He's about to fight again.
Is he really? Oh, good lord.
He's fighting the New Zealander from last Contender series.
The fucking Navajo.
He's fighting
No, is he really?
December 14th. I'm pretty sure that's who it is.
All right. Well, then I will be there in person to watch him be a fucking moron again. Cause
yeah, this adds up. Now that Omar's light heavyweight. If he fought Turcos, that adds up for Navajo. Yep.
Yeah, hell yeah, awesome. Well, that's great information for me to have. Appreciate that. I thought that you know, all of Tokos aside, regardless, I thought Sy's wrestling looked really nice. And then you add in the fact that Sy also has knockouts on his record, a bunch of them. So, I mean, like, honestly, you go and look at Omar Sy's record, he's got a pretty goddamn decent resume. I mean, like, you know, because that's the thing a lot of times with these guys who are newer to the organization. It's always, who are they fighting? What was the method of victory? If you've got a million decisions over, you know, way low level fighters, what does that really signal to me? Well, in this case, it's not that. I mean, this dude has been out here finishing motherfuckers. So I think that this should be a walk in the park compared to Dawoon Jung, who, I mean, he's been spotty at best. A couple of you know, losses that don't really hold up that well. I think that this is an example of the organization feeding the old guy to the up and comer.
Yeah, and Omar, we don't talk about many styles that come from France, but the style that Omar has is completely different from anybody else that comes from France. He has the wrestling that he has, like, you know, we talk about American wrestling or Sambo. This dude can make something French related to wrestling, and if he gets people on board with it, they could be some really good fucking wrestlers up there because he will just grab onto you. And I get also, I think I talked about this before. He has a unique build. He has super long legs, super long arms. He can just drape over you. He's hard to deal with, especially with 6'4". You know, I know the other dude's 6'4". I'm looking at it now too, but I think he's gonna wrestle him down. And like you said, he's got some knockouts and he's got some subs, but I don't know, man. I can only see him just. He's so dominant at wrestling. Why would you not start there? And then if that doesn't happen, then I guess we got to figure it out on the feet. Like, it's got to be that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, uh, I was saying on the Sunday stream that I don't want to speak too soon because he is somewhat new to the organization, but he might be a guy to keep an eye on for bigger and better things coming up. I mean, what I had said too, because we were saying, oh, this could be like a really, big stage, big Showtime kind of moment for him. I don't necessarily think that Dawoon Jung is like, a name that's going to get you a huge amount of acclaim for the win, but it's certainly another step in the right direction if he gets this win, which he, I mean, he is a heavy favorite in this fight, so I would think that all these factors that we've just mentioned equal up to that. After this win, I would think that it would probably be time, even though he is, I mean, I think that this will only be like his second, maybe his third fight in the organization. It's one of the two. Even with that being said, I would say jump him up to a not a ranked opponent or anything like that, but he should
A
get
Johnny Walker matchup, definitely.
I mean, something along those lines would be appropriate to me. I would say so. Yeah, I think a Johnny Walker, if not him specifically, someone like him, a guy who has been in the conversation at one point, someone who has had a number next to his name in the past, I think that would be appropriate because I think that there could be some big things for him in the future.
I think you made a great point. The names build anything for Omar. That's why I feel like this is a lob in front of the hometown. It's like, just get him a win. So by the time he gets around to his ranked opponent, oh, he's on a 4-fight win streak rather than a 3-fight win streak, or maybe they have him another lob here, whatever. So he'll have 2 kind of stat padded kind of wins right there. But I think Anakin made a great point. Subbed by Carlos Ulberg is pretty crazy. So Umar should be able to get a sub here, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what I was kind of getting at a little bit with Dawoon Jung's record. I mean, it's just the losses are not great ones, man. I mean, there's a couple in there that you see the names and you're just like, ooh, that doesn't really age too well. So. And honestly, I mean, really, even though he's only 30, I mean, there's still some time for him to improve. But I mean, he's just been on the backslide for a little minute here. I mean, or at least checkered for a little minute. I don't really see too much of a forward progression for him in general. That's my current assessment anyway. Maybe a big win over this young up and comer could, make a big difference for him. Perhaps, maybe this is a coming out party for him in the making. But, to take away C's O would be, somewhat of a noteworthy achievement. I just don't see it happening in this fight.
100%.
All right, moving on to Iwan Kutelaba, and you just shouted out my homie Anakin MMA in the chat. I want to shout him out as well because he said something on the Sunday stream that is the whole story of this fight in my assessment as well. Iwan Kutelaba has lost too many times to trust him. End of story. That's just, because what's interesting about this one, we were just talking about how Omar Sy is newer to the organization. This is the debut for Ivan Erslan, who Iwan Kutelaba is fighting here. Iwan Kutelaba versus Ivan Erslan. Erslan is coming in 14-3. So, I mean, this is a guy who's been around for a little minute. He was fighting, I believe, in KSW, which is a pretty noteworthy organization. This type of fight, I should say, is one where it can either go two ways. It can either be you have a really explosive performance from a new guy to the organization to show that he's making a name for himself, or you could have the chiseled veteran who is showing that there are levels to this game. Iwan Kutelaba does not inspire me to believe that he's going to be that guy.
One thing I will note is if that you are pronouncing his name right, that's why he should lose. That is crazy. But the thing I want to say is this is a fight right here. And if you're listening, please hear me straight. The Ivan Ersland dude is a plus 105 right now. I need you to lock it in because I just looked up pictures of this dude. And when the weigh-ins happen, you will understand why the coin is flipped. This dude, yeah, he's fine. The coin's gonna flip. What a Cutelaba sucks. When they see this dude step on the scale, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh shit, we're putting our money fucking down on this guy. Look at him. He's built like a tank." Croatia, come on.
Yeah, training at ATT as well.
So I feel like I've seen him before. Hold on. That's not him at the bottom there, bottom left for your screen?
I mean,
with the where's this? Why do I feel like I know this dude, or is this just every bald bearded white guy?
Okay. You tell me.
Either way, I think they're gonna quickly change the odds on this because, like you said, Cutelaba fucking sucks. He's the type of dude that fakes getting rattled and the ref has to stop it. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, that's one of those things that's never going to he's never going to really be able to live down. But
I think the other thing that he won't be able to live down is I didn't add this second part. Sorry. He's not going to be able to live down getting the rematch and then getting knocked out. That's the craziest part about it.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it really all goes back to what I said at the start of this portion here. I mean, he's lost to bro, really. Okay, I guess we're sorry guys. We had a little bit of a drop there. Oh, well, here comes the conversation with Restream yet again. Oh boy, because man, we were doing real good there for a minute. Man. All right. Well, unfortunate. But sorry, what I was saying was that
it is what it is. I know we're kind of choppy between us.
Yeah. What I was saying was that Cutelaba, it's just too unpredictable to put your backing behind. So. I think that Ivan Ersland could have his big breakout performance here. Let's hope that he can do it. I'm putting my money on him, especially as a plus money right now. All right.
100%.
Yep, moving on. Fares Zayam versus Matt Frivola, the Steamroller. 3-fight win streak. Yeah, we're dropping again. Sorry. I know. I'm amazed. I am amazed, man. I apologize. Sorry, everybody. I mean, thought we had this all figured out. We were going so well for a minute there. Zayam is now minus 125. Yeah, I mean, he's a minus 120 on here and even money on Matt Frivola. They're saying it's a bit of a pick'em, basically. I'm going with the American muscle on this one. I'm riding with Matt Frivola.
Yep, I think that's perfect because he got his win streak snapped by a Frenchman. Coming back in France, gonna take this back, get back on the horse. And I feel bad because the only time I've seen Matt Frivola is literally him getting his head kicked off by BSD. So it sucks, but I'm ready to see a comeback.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and he's had some decent ones aside from that, of course. I mean, Matt Frivola is a pretty solid fighter in a general sense, I would say. Decently well-rounded, I would venture. Zayam could pull it off, but I'll ride with Matt on that one. All right.
100%.
Yeah, not too much else to say about that one anyway. Next one is Morgan Charrier versus Gabriel Miranda. Charrier coming off of a loss to Chepe Mariscal. And Gabriel Miranda only loss is to Benoit Saint-Denis in his last 4. So yet another one. Oh, wait. Yeah. Crazy. And that,
I think this one...
Yeah, it is Benoit Saint-Denis.
Do you see that?
What?
Brother has 16 subs in his 17 wins.
for Gabriel Miranda.
Go look at that.
Yeah, I got his Tapology.
Yeah, that's what
over here.
ESPN has. Is this something that we missed? Like, this dude obviously
Yeah,
is
I
going
was
to
gonna
come out
say.
here
I
and get a
mean,
first round sub. Like, whoa.
for sure. I mean, yeah, submission. Yeah, bro. Well, it's yeah, dude. Fucking A. Wow, I guess it is something that we.
Fucking Sherry. Let's see. That is crazy. That's absolutely insane. Wow.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I definitely must have missed that. I did. Yeah, did not pick up on that on the stream yesterday.
So I guess that would be my thing is now that I see that is that Cherie coming in at a minus 650. This is a dangerous favorite to put money on because you're going up against a dude with 16 submissions. That means any way it gets to the ground, he most likely, if he's around the submission attempt, he's probably going to sink it in. So he actually tapped Craig Jones and Jordan Ryan as well. Hey, stop taking the piss, mate. So
yeah, for real.
No, he's lying. He's bullshitting.
Oh no, okay,
so
cool. Yeah, I was just
Morgan
saying, Jesus
Cherie,
Christ, man.
I think this is dangerous right here, but this would be some good money if you just listen. He's already a plus 425 dog. Gabriel Miranda by submission. That might be some really small money to make a lot because 16 subs out of your 17 wins. Like you got to think. Out of every time that you stepped into the ring, only one time did you not end up choking them out, breaking their arm, so he's a finish or be finished kind of guy. Like this is not going the distance. He's got 3 inches of height on him. He's the taller guy. Guys, this is a good dog right here. Wow.
Yeah, for real. I mean, he was my pick even before I knew.
I know I
that.
shouldn't be glazing like this. But I don't think you guys understand. Like 17 times that he's won, 16 of them he's subbed him. Oh my God, that's crazy. I don't know what to say, but it's probably lack of competition. So what it is.
For sure.
It is
and
what
yeah,
it is.
Yeah, guys. Sorry about the lag, y'all. We're having issues yet again. I will be back on the horn with Restream again. Crazy because it was working just fine yesterday. But yeah, that is absolutely wild, and I do think that he is a very live dog.
100%.
All right.
I know, TJF. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's necessary though. I think it's absolutely warranted. This is why you got to come in. This is why the research is necessary, bro. And bro, Brian Battle. I'm a little bit of a fan. Especially having seen, his season of The Ultimate Fighter, and then also just having made the video that I made about the unfortunate situation in the Angelosa fight. I'm a fan of the dude. I think that he's the real deal. And his only loss, aside from his debut, is against Fakhretdinov, which, you can say, you can kind of take that either way, but.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, sorry, we're just fucking interrupting. It's cutting out on my end.
Yeah,
so anyway, what I was gonna say is Brian Battle should be one of the biggest locks on this card. The odds should be minus 1,200 for this dude because Kevin just said, I don't care fight per se, maybe once, but Brian Battle is so complete. There's just nothing you're going to be able to do against him. He's just that good. And he is a favorite. All favorites are the same. But he should be a heavier favorite. But I'm happy to win very, very good money on him. Trust me.
For sure. And the other thing I did want to mention was that someone, I believe that it might have been Andy in the chat yesterday, said that he heard Brian Battle on Michael Bisping's podcast. And he had said that he sounded like he was really good and confident and all of that. But something to keep in mind that he said it might be the case is that Brian might have been injured at some point in the near recent past in training. Because he definitely wasn't injured in that the Angelosa fight. So just something to be aware of. I don't know if it's going to play any role in this fight, but I'm just throwing it out there for the sake of completeness here. Keep it in mind that he might have had an injury sometime recently.
Gotcha. Good to know.
Sure. So yeah, but I mean, I definitely riding with Brian heavy on that one. All right, we got William Gomez versus Joanderson Brito. Gomez has a win over Francis Marshall, which is, not nothing. Brito kicked Jack Shore's leg so hard that the doctor stopped the fight.
The one thing I'll note on this one, and the only thing that I have to note, is that maybe last week when Aljo pulled out the fight, Twitter's talk, maybe it was just one person I saw. He said something like, they better not pull Brito to fight Mosvar. So keep that in mind if something weird happens. I doubt at this point, because this is right before Brito's going to start, cutting. Like, they're going to have to let him know, like, if you're going to have to cut next week kind of deal, not this week. So this one might be interesting because at the time, who the fuck is William Gomi? Like, this dude is the dude that fucked up and missed weight by -4 pounds.
So, gosh, I forgot about that. That's a good point to bring up.
So maybe that's
sure.
another reason that they're gonna maybe switch this up, is because like this dude is maybe unreliable. How do you miss by that much? Let me actually check. I'm looking at rankings.
You can check that, and I also want to throw out, and I don't know that if this is confirmed or not, but I did see today, sometime earlier today, that the Movsar fight in general for was it 309 that was supposed to be on, or was it 308? Hey, whatever. One of those two.
6? No, it's in 2.5. It's in next week.
It was. Oh, it's supposed to be what the
Movsar fight?
Yeah, on the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's happened. Like, it was supposed to, when Aljo pulled out, it was 2.5 weeks from the fight, I'm pretty sure.
Well, whichever card it was supposed to be on, apparently that fight was just outright canceled because no one was going to step up on short notice. That was 307. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So regardless of where it was supposed to be, I had heard that it was just outright canceled, that he wasn't going to be getting a partner, and that was just going to be that. But I have not confirmed that, so take it with a grain of salt. It's just something that I heard through the rumor mill.
One last point I want to make, because it was kind of funny. I put it in the Discord. Is one dude who's on the Contender series coming up, I guess tomorrow. He posted on Twitter, like, I'll win my contract tomorrow and then I'll step up and fight Mosvar. And I was sitting here thinking, like, hold on now. Calm down. Dude, just chill, brother. Get your contract first. Let's hold the horses on that one. But yeah, so I don't know. I doubt anything's going to happen with that one. Like you said, it's probably been canceled. So we'll see. Or rebooking, whatever.
Sure.
Unless Dan Ige's come.
Well, Dan Ige's got Dan Ige's got the fight with Jesus Christ! I just was talking about it last night. Dan Ige's booked.
And Elevation, yeah, Elite. Good point.
Yeah. God, why am I'm blanking on who Ige's fighting, but it's somebody that I'm excited to see him fight.
And so back to this fight, William Gomi and Joanderson Brito. Like Annika said, I have a feeling that Gomez could point to a decision. That may be the case. If you have that feeling, I don't have any feeling towards this one. I would say do not bet on this. Like we said, Brito has kind of a fluke win with that leg kick, TKO. William Gomi, kind of a fucking idiot. Who knows what's going to happen? So we'll just see.
For sure. I would still, maybe not throw crazy money on it, but I still think that Brito's probably the wiser choice there. Lerone Murphy, thank you. Jesus Christ, I cannot believe that was escaping me so badly. Thank you, Anakin. Danny Gay is fighting Lerone Murphy. But as far as this fight that we are in theory talking about here, William Gomez versus Joanderson Brito, I would say that Brito's probably going to take this. That would make the most sense to me. All right. Co-main event is Nasruddin Imavov versus Brandon Allen. We touched a little bit on Brandon Allen today, but I was talking about him yesterday, saying I do not understand why people don't fuck with him so much. He is a rear naked choking machine. This dude, I mean, like, I don't see any reason to not ride with him, but he just doesn't seem to be a very popular guy. I mean, granted, he got in a brawl with fucking Marvin Vittori in a casino, but I don't know how that factors into anything. He's winning his fights. I think the other side of the coin is that Nasruddin Imavov to me is not as good as his ranking would suggest.
So you want to talk about things not adding up, Imavov's ranking and the skill level. I think that is exactly why I don't like Brendan Allen. I mean, I'm not a big fan of either of them, and I think it's probably for the better reason. Is like these are guys that you have to be told how good they are. It's like you have to be told the statistics, how many times they get submissions or how many takedowns they get. You're not watching it, and I'm not seeing greatness like they present to me. These are guys that their analytics will tell you that they're greater than the eye is like showing. I don't think either of them have like the greatest skill ever. They can do their things very well. I think this is a very even matchup. They both do a lot of similar things in my opinion, but I don't know. Brendan Allen, I just don't see greatness. Like I'm telling you, I think Chris Curtis won that matchup, and Chris Curtis arguably isn't even like that fucking great. Like he can only, and Brendan Allen almost lost to him. So that's just my opinion.
Sorry, you cut out for me. What did you say that he did, or that he could
do? Chris Curtis can only box, basically.
Can only
like
box,
to an extent, he's just boxing you the entire time. And if Brendan Allen is skating by on somebody as one-dimensional as Chris Curtis has been fighting, like it's just not a good look. I don't want to hear how many finishes he's had, or blah 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 blah.
Fair enough. I mean, I can see the thought pattern there. I can see the logic in it. If that's the case, then I think that you're really making that same case on both sides of the coin.
Yeah,
here.
For sure.
And if that's the way of it, then I would, I'll still ride with Brendan Allen for that exact reason. I mean, I've seen Imavov fight a number of times. Now, granted, we all know what happened in the fight with Jared Cannonier. We can never know now how that would have played out had it not been stopped early. But either way, it's Jared Cannonier in the changing of the guard era that we're in right now. I mean, on the tail end of his time here, having lost that fight and then gone on to, even though it was a complete all-out war, going on to another loss against Caio Bahaio. So, I say all of that to say that Imavov has not added up to the number 4 that is next to his name, in my opinion. And I just think that Brendan Allen has what it takes to get the job done against him specifically. Will he be able to replicate that going forward thereafter? That's a good question, but we are in a shake-up territory at the moment. We're in that time of the sport. Middleweight is certainly one of the divisions that has been going through those changes. So, as of right now, it just makes sense to me that these guys would be vying for higher spots while other guys are shaking out.
I think, honestly, when you get to these higher-ranked co-main and main event matchups, anything that is close to a plus 200 dog, you might as well figure that's almost, that's good money to make right there, because anybody really can win at the top of this game, and plus 200 or plus 190 for Brendan Allen, it is disrespectful. Like that is
a card for the dogs, I mean, as far as what I'm seeing, I mean, there's been a couple of them that I'm like pretty decently locked in with. But yeah, I would say that this would be among them, at least as of what my gut's telling me.
Yeah.
We'll obviously we'll see what ends up happening come day of. But all right, main event is Benoit Saint-Denis versus Renato Moicano. Renato is what I would consider selectively impressive. He's got a good resume, but there are a few caveats on it. What I was saying last night is that a loss to RDA in 2023, I believe it was, or 2022 maybe. Not the greatest in the world, but a good couple of wins thereafter on top of that. Nearly lost to Jalen Turner, except that was because Jalen Turner basically gave that fight away. So is Renato Moicano skilled? Yes. Is he Benoit Saint Denis level of uh, acumen in at least in the when striking is concerned? I definitely would say no. As far as wrestling goes and grappling, I think that that'll probably be interesting if it goes that route, but we'll see if Benoit Saint Denis is going to let it get there.
I think after 300, Moicano's stock was at the highest it has ever been. He needed money. Now he's got his money. There's nothing driving him now. It's like, what is a $12,000 check going to do for me when I can just go on my podcast and churn in $15,000 in donations? Like, anything like that. It's like Benoit Saint Denis, though. He's he's on the last fight of the night. His home country got to win because I'm on, coming off an L. People are riding high on me. I'm the favorite. You got to get this one done. And what was the last thing I wanted to mention is that the cards are looking good for Benoit too. He's the younger fighter. He's had more time to rest. So I'm leaning towards BSD, even though I do like Moicano. I know people are going to root for him since he's a big dog, which is disrespectful, but BSD is kind of a madman.
Yeah, I would take some issue with the lack of hunger in Moicano. I mean, I think that he still wants to be competitive. I think that his stock drops even with his outside of the cage ventures if he's not living up to his perceived value in the cage. But overall, I mean, if you're going to skill for skill, I mean, I definitely the aggression is going to be there on Saint Denis' side, way more so,
Yeah.
I would say. I mean, that guy, he walks forward and does not stop walking forward. I mean, he is a pressure fighter, but he's pressure with punches. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, I mean, I always go back to the sequence in the Dustin Poirier fight where he had him in the clinch and he was throwing those knees, just bombing knees. I was like, that's the type of stuff that that's what you see from a dude who can back up the aggression that he has,
Yeah.
because we see it all the time when somebody rushes in head first and doesn't have anything to back it up. Actually, I mean, that fucking that Tao guy from Toe from the Contender series is an example of how that looks when there's nothing to really back that up.
Yeah.
Benoit Saint Denis, on the other hand, I mean, this dude can fucking walk the walk over here. So I mean, yeah, I just think that he's just a level above. I don't think that the Dustin Poirier loss is indicative of where he's at skill wise in totality, and I don't really think that Moicano is at the level that he's at. I mean, it's crazy to say because I mean, Moicano's been around for longer. He's fought some really, really great guys. He's got some really good wins over some great guys. But it's just the levels deal right now with the two of them. I think Benoit is higher.
100%.
So there you go. That is the UFC Fight Night Moicano versus Saint Denis. That will be taking place this weekend, y'all. From what I'm seeing, I guess it's going to be on Paris time, so it's the starting at noon our time. That's good to know. Yeah, I'm glad that I caught that before we wrap here. But we, of course, will be doing our individual watch-alongs for this card. I will be right here on the Yama channel with the Vitz King. Chase will be on his solo watch-along. And Chase, I know that you can tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And then on Twitter, you can find me at twitter.com/@CreativePartin, PARTIN.
Make sure you follow my boy. I am at Yama Show on all social media as well. New video is out on the channel right now. It is going over Noche UFC. Gotten some decent response to that. So check it out. Like it if you like it. Dislike it if you don't. Make sure you say hey on the watch-alongs. And tomorrow I will not be live for the Contender series. Unfortunately, I have a prior engagement, but I am hoping to do Wednesday for the rewatch. or the my first time watching, whatever, the replay watch along, I will do on Wednesday, either with or without the Vitz King. We'll have to see what his schedule is looking like. But either way, I'm not going to be live for the actual Contender Series when it airs. I will not be privy to any of the results beforehand, and I will be going into the replay watch along blind. So you can come and hang out with me on that when that happens. Keep your eyes open for it. But until next time, everybody, we appreciate all y'all hanging out. Thank you very much for rocking with us as always. We will see you in the next stream. Take good care. And as always, fight on.